Bills fans, what seemed like a quiet offseason in Buffalo is starting to take on the contours of tension and expectation. The central name in this possible turnaround is none other than James Cook, the talented running back who, in 2024, was a key player in the offense led by Josh Allen. With impressive numbers, more than 1,000 rushing yards and an impressive 16 touchdowns, Cook not only confirmed his talent, but also consolidated himself as a true star of the league. But even with such production, the atmosphere behind the scenes has heated up. Contract negotiations between Cook and the Bills board have stalled, and the impasse is starting to have a negative effect within the franchise. Cook attended the mandatory minicamp, which was initially seen as a positive sign. However, there is a big question. Will he participate in training camp? If he decides not to show up, the chances of a definitive breakup increase considerably. It is precisely in this scenario of uncertainty that a new character enters the story strongly: the Chicago Bears. According to a report by Pat Martuniak of On SI, Chicago's management is closely monitoring the situation and would be willing to act boldly to take advantage of the instability in Buffalo. The Illinois franchise has a latent need at the running back position, especially after failing to select the coveted Ashton Gianti in the 2025 draft. The options in the following rounds also did not meet expectations, leaving the offensive sector with a significant gap. Even with DeAndre Swift acquired last offseason, the feeling within Chicago is that the addition of a talent of James Cook's caliber has raised the level of the offense led by rookie Caleb Williams, who will take over as the starting quarterback this season with huge expectations. The proposal circulating behind the scenes would be straightforward: Cook to the Bears, Swift to the Bills. This trade would have an interesting strategic logic for both sides. For the Bears, it would mean adding a versatile running back with explosiveness, speed, and the ability to contribute in the passing game, forming a fearsome backfield alongside Swift, or eventually making Cook a central piece of the running attack. For the Bills, it would be an opportunity to receive an immediate replacement with a good production record and avoid a sharp drop in performance in the sector, should the situation with Cook really deteriorate. However, there is one critical factor that needs to be carefully analyzed: James Cook's market value. Market estimates, such as those published by SpotTrack, project that his contract extension is around $40.8 million for 4 years. However, with the growing demand for elite running backs and his recent performance, it is not hard to imagine that figure rising even higher, especially if other specific ones come on the market. What is most striking about this possible trade is the aggressive stance that the Bears would be interested in adopting to support the development of Caleb Williams. After all, a young, promising quarterback needs reliable weapons around him, and Cook could ease that burden immensely in his second season. And from Buffalo's perspective, avoiding losing Cook for nothing or keeping him unhappy would be a pragmatic decision. But the situation is more complex than it seems. The Bills front office knows that while negotiating the future of its star running back, other strategic opportunities may be opening up. There is a name behind the scenes who, even without having played a single game in the NFL, could become the piece Buffalo is looking for to take the next leap towards the Super Bowl. And this new story directly involves the Cincinnati Bengals, a direct conference rival. While the drama involving James Cook remains unresolved, another behind-the-scenes movement is beginning to gain momentum and could transform the Bills' defensive sector in 2025. We're talking about an unexpected situation with the Cincinnati Bengals and their rookie, Shamar Stewart, one of the most coveted picks in the last draft. Selected with the 17th overall pick, Stewart arrived in the NFL surrounded by expectations after a brilliant career at Texas A&M. Combining strength against the ground game and the ability to pressure the quarterback, the defensive lineman was seen as a key piece for the future of the Bengals defense, especially in the midst of the contract impasse that has dragged on with Trey Hendrickson. But what seemed like a perfect marriage quickly fell apart. Cincinnati included a controversial clause in his contract: the possibility of voiding salary guarantees in case of off-field problems. Stewart and his staff immediately refused. Tensions increased. The player publicly spoke out against the board, and as a sign of rupture, he abandoned the mandatory minicamp. Since then, the mood between the parties has only gotten worse. Now, the scenario is dramatic. Shamar Stewart threatens to miss the entire 2025 season and even return to the 2026 draft if the situation is not resolved. This is where the Bills see a rare strategic opportunity. If Cincinnati is unable to resolve the impasse, it may be asked to trade the player before losing all of its investment. Behind the scenes, a proposal is beginning to circulate that could change the axis of power in the AFC. Buffalo would offer its 2026 first-round pick in exchange for Stewart. For the Bengals, it would be a way to try to minimize the loss and still secure a new opportunity in the draft. For the Bills, it would be the defensive reinforcement they needed, especially after the front seven's difficulties in decisive moments last season. The big question is, would the Bengals agree to trade with a direct conference rival? In an ideal world, no. But with Stewart on the verge of public details and few realistic options, sending the heat to Buffalo could end up being the lesser evil for Cincinnati. For the Bills, it would be a masterstroke, bolstering the defensive line with a talent many considered top 10 before the draft, while also indirectly dismantling part of the defensive structure of a direct competitor. But while this negotiation continues behind the scenes, the Bills' front office is already working on a third move. Should the worst happen and James Cook really leave, Buffalo is already mapping out alternatives for immediate safety in the backfield. And the next name in this mix is well known in the NFL, Cordarrelle Patterson. While negotiations with the Chicago Bears continue behind the scenes and the Shemar Stewart case unfolds with the Bengals, the Bills' board of directors is not standing still. After all, even if a trade deal for James Cook does not materialize immediately, concerns about the depth of the backfield are already beginning to grow. And thinking about a veteran emergency scenario, one name is gaining traction: Cordarrelle Patterson, currently on the roster of the Pittsburgh Steelers. According to David Latham of Last Word on Sports, the Buffalo Bills should act preemptively. With total uncertainty about Cook's future, the franchise cannot risk entering the 2025 season with a vulnerable backfield. Although the new Ray Davis shows potential and is tipped to be the starter, relying exclusively on a Heat at a time with Super Bowl aspirations may be too risky a bet. That's where Patterson comes in, a true offensive wild card with multiple skills on the field. Originally a wide receiver, he reinvented himself as a running back in 2021 with the Atlanta Falcons, surprising the league with good performances as a ball carrier and still maintaining his excellence as a returner, one of the most dangerous weapons on special teams in the entire NFL. Today, at 34 years old, Patterson still has value to contribute, even though he is no longer the explosive player he was years ago. In 2024, even with a reduced role, he maintained an average of more than 4 yards per attempt, which indicates that he can be a valuable piece to share snaps, relieve Davis's load, and serve as a mentor in the locker room. In addition, his playoff experience and specificities give coach Sean McDermott more tactical options on offense and in special moments. On the Steelers' current roster, Patterson seems to be a spare piece in the backfield. Pittsburgh already has Caleb Johnson, Kenneth Gainwell, and Jaylen Warren, in addition to promising youngsters competing for spots. Therefore, the possibility of Pittsburgh trading the veteran is on the table. And the cost would be minimal. The Bills would only need to offer a 7th-round pick to secure an immediate reinforcement, even before the start of training camp. This delivery shows how the Bills board is aware of all possible scenarios. If Cook leaves, the team won't be caught off guard. With Davis gaining more space, Patterson could assume a reliable complementary role, and who knows, even make a difference with some explosive returns. Now, fans, the scenario is set. A possible trade with the Bears for James Cook, a surprising deal with the Bengals for Shemar Stewart, and a safe alternative with Patterson in case the worst happens in the backfield. Bills is playing on multiple boards at the same time, and any of these decisions could be the definitive turning point towards the long-awaited Super Bowl win. Now it's up to you, Bills fan. If you were in the board's shoes, which of these 3 deals would you prioritize right now? Trading James Cook to the Bears and receiving DeAndre Swift? Should we trade the 2026 first-round pick to bring in Shemar Stewart and strengthen the defensive line? Or should we lock in Cordarrelle Patterson's experience as a safety in the backfield? Leave your opinion in the comments, because the decision Buffalo makes now could define our future in the Super Bowl. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, but I'll be back later to update you with the latest news from the Buffalo Bills.